Welcome to the Earthworks podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
All right, joining the conversation, our buddy Bobby Solar, who, if you are keen Earthworks listeners, you'll remember from an original podcast that we did with Golf Course Industry Magazine probably 5 or 6 years ago. And Bobby was so kind to be a guest on that. But with this Earthworks podcast kicking here for the last year or so, I've had this in mind for a while, Bobby, to get you on here. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's always good to see you guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Now, we've known each other a good long while, you and I. I've been with the company for 12 years, and I probably met you maybe not 10 years ago, but at least 8.
Yeah, I think it was 2013, somewhere in there.
You have mentioned to me before that you've got the memory of like a steel trap. You
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Sometimes photographic.
All right. Hey man, that's gonna make for a great podcast. So let's tell everyone. I'll let you tell the story about how we met. How exactly you came to know Earthworks, and you and I got a chance to start working together.
Yeah. So way back when, I have a colleague in Pennsylvania. Shout out to Ty Nostrin, Friendly Tree Service. His aunt works with you guys.
That's right.
And she had reached out to him to see if he could do some, not like testing, but just to use their product and talk to you about like the soil ecology and how, C3 can work and be beneficial to plants and shrubs. And he basically said, I don't have time for that, but I know a guy that has lots of time. And I talk a lot, so he's like, it's going to be great. And so, he gave me a couple of jugs and said, try it out, see what you like about it. And, at first I told Ty, I was like, this stuff's going to be garbage, man. It's not, I'd never heard of it. I switched from like the Dogette to Essentials Plus. Okay. Super loyal guy with Essentials. And then, so I gave it a shot. And like I said in that interview for the Golf magazine, like pizza and caffeine, I was hooked. This stuff, it was blown away with. I still haven't found a limitation yet with it, or what it can't do.
Oh, it is such a cool story. Yes. So for everyone, there's a lot out there, and probably more out there that don't know Lisa. But Ty's aunt that you reference, who works for Earthworks, is Lisa Kiefer, the vice president of Earthworks.
Oh, so I didn't know she was the VP.
Oh yeah, she's a big timer over here at Earthworks, and she runs the company. She gets everything done. So
it's good to know.
Yeah, and especially at the time, 8 years ago, we're a turf company. We certainly started as a turf company, and especially at the time, 8 years ago, we were kind of just developing a lot of non-turf applications, and not to say that we weren't doing it, but we weren't as experienced in it. So this was a great opportunity for us to learn more about how, and also C3 was probably only a year or two old at the time too. So it was a great opportunity for us to learn about how to use C3 and all the Earthworks products in trees, for an arborist. So yes, at this point, I probably still hadn't met you. This was all just through Ty, Lisa's nephew, and Lisa, really. But it was shortly thereafter. I think you were giving my number, I was giving your number, something like that. We started talking after you had already gotten the C3.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah, I was telling Ty about it, and Ty's like, "Well, you really should talk to my aunt." And at that point, I didn't know, who that was. I'm like, all right. I thought she was a secretary, to be honest,
right,
or a receptionist or whatever. So anyway, he got in touch with his aunt, and then I told her about all the stuff, and then she had said, "Can I come in for a meeting?" I think this was probably in 2015. I think it was. It was in May, I believe, in the spring. So I got together a little PowerPoint presentation, and that's when I came in and met with you, Sarah, and briefly with Joel, because he just popped in and then he had to leave again. But it was just you and Sarah in the meeting, and Lisa.
That's right.
But anyway, and that was back in 15, and then I mean, really, we've just been text messaging since then. Just
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. So, and a lot of cool text because you document everything. You tell
oh
you
yeah,
tell me exactly what's going on. You send me great pictures.
oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah, all the good stuff. So okay, let's now you had mentioned you had kind of started with you as an arborist. Let's get back to more your company, how you came into this. So tell me a little bit about solar tree care, right?
yeah. Solar's Arbor Care, Solar's custom Arbor Care.
Solar's custom arbor care. Yeah, tell me a little bit about. Oh, I see it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Bobby just showed the nice threads. His solar custom arbor care sweatshirt.
yeah. I mean, I worked for a guy for years. Thought he was family. Looked up to him as family, and just never followed through with some of the promises that he had set in meetings and stuff. And so I decided just to part ways and start my own gig. And
Hmm.
shortly after that, you guys had Superstorm Sandy come
Yep.
through up in
Yes, we
PA, and
did.
Ty was extremely short on help. And Jeff Kessler, his production manager, and him and I used to live together. We used to work together, and
Oh,
so
wait, now I didn't catch that part because here's another thing for the listener.
yeah,
You're talking about all this PA stuff,
yeah,
eastern side of PA, Easton, Lehigh Valley, but you're from Charlottesville, Virginia.
yeah. Well, Nelson County, Virginia, just outside of
Okay,
Charlottesville.
okay,
And then, I mean, it was really they got me started because like I had left with just the money that I had in my savings account. I didn't really have anything, and so they got me kind of going, and and then I was able to kind of come back after what was supposed to be a couple of weeks. It ended up being 6 months. Uh,
Sandy rocked this
yeah,
year.
dude, destroyed it. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it probably wouldn't have been too bad if the leaves weren't on the trees, but
That's
because
it.
it happened right before, I think it was Halloween night, I believe.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was
Yeah.
2012.
hmm And but anyway, long story short, and then so I started my own company basically because I was unhappy, and I had a couple of regrets in the beginning, but overall pretty happy. I started my company as a plant healthcare based tree service instead of a tree service with plant healthcare, and
Yeah, let's talk about the
yeah,
distinction there. I mean, I guess what you're saying is you really focus on doing applications to make the trees healthy,
right.
as opposed to just being a climber and guy that cuts down trees.
Right, because I always had the philosophy that anybody, and I mean anybody, even a homeowner, can put a saw into a tree. It might not go where they want it to go, but anybody can cut down a tree. But
Right.
not anybody can save a tree. Not anybody can walk someone's yard and say, "Okay, this is what you have. This is the
Hmm.
ailments that you have. This
Hmm.
is how we correct it." And
Hmm.
that's why I always wanted to have that distinction between myself and my competitors that just go out and slay trees all day. And then not many people you know people ask, I need a tree guy. There's like 50 people that get recommended. And like, I have a tree that looks like crap. And then like, I'm the only one that gets recommended like through Facebook and stuff. And I
Right.
like that. And that's what I wanted. I wanted people to associate me with saving their trees instead of taking them down,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Um, Yeah, that does make sense. it it does make sense. So let's see. So there you are. You started your company. You got the big kick up here with Superstorm Sandy. You came back, got your company going down there, started to develop clients.
Oh, yeah, a few here and there. Um, and then hit a kind
You
of a brick wall again.
okay? What was
So,
that?
just not enough work. So I picked up a manufacturing job, and I'd get off work and then go climb a tree, and vice versa. I'd go climb a tree and then go clock in, make $10 an hour. Work 12 hours and come home,
Dude, you
sleep.
got, but you always had the passion. You didn't
Yeah,
want to
man,
give up.
always, always. Yeah, I grew up in it. My grandmother and my uncle, her brother, they owned a tree service for years, 26 years, I think it was, in Florida. And you know, I grew up. My grandfather taught me, splitting firewood and doing small stuff, and I kind of like enjoyed that time with them, and it just kind of clicked, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like I knew from a
Where did you
kid.
grow up? Did you grow up in Nelson County or
No,
did
I grew well, kind of. I grew up in New York, upstate New York.
Oh, that right. I
until
do
I was
remember.
10. Yeah, moved to Virginia and been here ever since for the most part. I knew I didn't want to be a logger because that's the other half of my family is all loggers.
Ah,
So
yeah, you're more into
yeah,
saving trees.
yeah, exactly. Nothing
You
against logging companies. I'm not saying there's anything
no,
against
no, no,
that, but
no. No, but you like to do what you do. Um,
exactly. We all have our niches and our
yeah.
passions.
Yeah, you were laughing the other day when we were talking on the phone about the irony of that you were clearing a bunch of trees for the homeowner to put up solar panels.
Yeah, exactly. It's like kind of defeats the purpose.
What's going on here? Um, so let's see. Do I also remember because I've got this great view of you here on the Zoom call that you call yourself was it the tree climbing leprechaun? Is that right? So
Maybe. I've been called a lot of things. I got this one guy, his name is Dave Uritz. He's in NPA. He calls me BoboPedia.
okay,
Because of my vast knowledge, I store everything, and then it's like random facts come out, mostly about trees.
yeah, man.
I've got my close friends that call me Bobo. Don't know why. It just stuck.
I call my cousin Bobby Bobo too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a thing, I guess. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
That's about it. I don't have anything cool like
yeah.
you know,
Well,
like Wild
you
Man.
got that great big red beard. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Um, all right, so good. So let's keep moving on with your company and what you do. I kind of want to yeah, let's walk the listener through you how you develop this plant healthcare model and what exactly you're looking for. You mentioned you started using Dog It. You kind of branched away from that, started using Essential. You've now been using C3 for years. But let you explain your plant healthcare kind of philosophy about what you're looking to do to help that tree thrive.
Right. Well, I mean, we just a lot of our customers are high end estates, and they've got zero collateral damage policies for their trees. They
Okay.
want their trees looking fantastic year round, without and I like that, but I also don't like a lot of times the only way to achieve that is just chemicals after chemicals after chemicals. Like, no, I'm not trying to bash anybody. Like True Green Lawn Care, they just throw chemicals on grass and then
Okay.
they look green. Whereas like I like the idea of having more of a more eco-friendly approach to that. Not just the lawns, but like mostly trees and shrubs. And I don't know. I've always liked healthy, happy trees are healthy, happy customers. And
In prepping for this podcast, you and I discussed, some things that you see when using salt fertilizer.
oh
Um,
yeah, you get the chemical burning. If you get too much at the wrong time, you'll get a lot of yellowing. You'll get a lot of like the margins will be burned off because it's just you've got the salt damage from high nitrogen fertilizers. It doesn't always have to be nitrogen; it could be mostly phosphorus or potassium. And if the salt content's too high, or if somebody's putting too much down, sometimes
right.
applicators get lazy and they're like, it's Friday, I'll just throw the whole bag in, and then
But
they over apply.
and even when you use it right, like you've mentioned,
Oh yeah,
the plant can become so lush that it's just very susceptible to disease, and that's really a major part of what you're battling in that
yeah,
industry.
mostly you see that more with insects. Like a lot of high nitrogen fertilizers will bring in mites and aphids and psyllids, and then you end up having insect problems that overtake. And then
Mm.
people are like, oh, my tree looks great, and then it just gets bombarded
Oh
by
wow,
insect
it's not
activity.
even real. Yeah, it's not disease as much as it's actual bugs that are
Yeah.
coming in because that plant is just so pumped up and lush.
hmm
Ah, yeah,
And then it's like steroids almost, or I guess another good example is like coffee or
sure,
caffeine.
no
You
doubt.
give them that that chemical fertilizer, they get used to it. And it's like, oh, it's great. And they start doing all kinds of good stuff and pushing out growth, and they don't have it anymore. And then you end up getting stresses. And with the earthwork stuff, mostly the C3, I've never had that. I've never had the plant put on too much growth or grow wildly where they're I mean, I did have some roses that decided to do their own thing. I had a climbing rose specifically. I think I sent you guys the picture
I remember it.
where it grew 8 feet in 40 days. and they were freaking out. And they were like, and then they let it go. And then the second application, because it was a 3 series application, it's always been 3 with the Essentials Plus. So I went back for the second one, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do it, but they said no, do it. We want to see the program through, and that the second visit was probably like 4 or 5 weeks later, and it had grown over 16 feet long,
Oh my
with just 2
gosh.
applications.
And then
I
on the
mean, you saw
third
the
visit,
picture.
yeah,
Well,
and
I
on
didn't
the
do the third visit. I said,
yeah,
"There's no need."
it's
Yeah,
a good thing you didn't do the third visit. You come back, the house would be totally engulfed by the rose bush.
yeah, like Jack and the or was it Jack and the Beanstalk, whatever?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
um, okay, well that's fascinating. What time of year was that you started?
spring. First application was in it had to be before. It was before St. Patrick's Day, so it'd
Okay.
probably be in like around I don't know, like the
Yeah,
10th or
middle of
12th.
March. Middle of
Yeah,
March,
because
yeah.
I remember I was telling them that I had to get this done because at the time was my girlfriend. She's my wife now. We have every St. Patrick's Day we go to see her family, and
Uh-huh.
we hit all the bars and
Oh yeah.
responsibly, of course.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I'm like chomping at the bit to get to Virginia Beach,
It's time to
and
go.
yeah. So and then I came back and did some other stuff, and then it was 5 or 6 weeks later, and they're like, "Yeah, come on back." And then I was gonna do another one in like June or July, and they said, "Nah, there's no point."
If you could walk me and the listener through exactly how you make an application like that, and I'd like you to start all the way back at loading up your truck.
Like how I do it? Well, I just
Yeah,
have this.
how you do it, is it a root zone application? Is it foliar? And I guess where I'm at on loading up your truck is I remember you telling me a long time ago that you harvest rainwater
I
to
used to, but
okay,
I've gotten to the point now where I can't collect enough of it in order
okay.
to use it. But in the past, yeah, I used rainwater, which there's a lot of micro and macronutrients and a lot of just good nitrogen in rainwater. And when you
Yeah.
mix it,
Yeah,
when
100%. And also, I mean, what you're describing is a lot of micro and macronutrients. There's probably a lot qualitatively, meaning that they're there, but they're not there in like extreme abundance that they
right,
offset one another, or that there is some kind that there's a shock to the homeostasis of the biological system to the so yeah, I just found that I always found that fascinating, and I've actually like done some reading and research. It's come up in earthworks discussions about using about the water source that you use to mix your application tanks.
yeah, I mean, because like our shop gets city water, so you
Right,
get
a
chlorinated water,
bunch of
which is
chloride.
I
Yeah.
don't like that. So
Well, no, they use it to kill biology.
exactly. And here we are, we're going to use it for fertilize? No, I don't think so. And I know a lot of guys that do, a lot of companies, and I'm not going to blast them on here, but I mean, I know that they don't care. They're just out to make a dollar, and that's all they care about. But
Right, right,
so, our new facility, we've got well water. It's just as good, if not better, than rain collected.
right.
Uh, but so usually I'm a huge fan of the drenches.
I'll just take a 1 second just to talk about
Sure.
the Earthworks product. In regard to this whole water thing, we in making our liquid products like C3, we use reverse osmosis water. We have a reverse osmosis system at the liquid plant, and for that exact reason, that yeah, otherwise the option would be city water or just water that we didn't know exactly what the solutes were in it. So we start with a clean slate.
Yeah, that's the best for everything. That's the best thing to do.
It makes sense. Okay, so yeah, I interjected. Tell me now about specifically about this rose bush application or this climbing rose application. So you've got you're all mixed up. What kind of rate would you use on that for the C3?
I went with the drench rate, the highest. I think it's 15 or 16 ounces per 2 gallons of water. And
Exactly. Yep.
so what I do is anything shallow rooted,
Mm-hmm.
mostly all your shrubs like boxwoods, azaleas, roses, they get drenched. And then if it's a tree like an oak, an ash, a hickory, or something, I do a deep root, down 6 8 inches deep. Uh, and
You grid that out.
yeah, yeah, grit it out. And then I use when I'm done doing the tree. If it's like one tree, I will rinse the truck out on site, and then all the rinse just gets drenched around the base of the tree. So
I
that
remember you saying that as well. That you said
yeah.
the feeder roots are really focused at the first maybe 6 feet of radius around the base of that tree.
Yeah, it's usually I forgot the mathematical percentage, but I usually try to stay within the first 10 to 15 feet of the
Right,
trunk, and
right.
then obviously smaller the tree, the smaller the root zone.
The
You don't have to
radius,
worry about.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I like to focus it right there. I don't like going like the old school was go out past the drip line, which you should do, but at the same time, you're putting it way out there, and you're making the tree work harder to get to that food.
You're feeding
You
a
know what I
lot of
mean?
turf in the meantime, yeah.
Yeah, which is good and bad. You
No,
know,
I hear you. I hear you. So, okay, so that's the way. So that that application on the climbing rose was really a drench application.
yep.
Not really foliar. Although I do remember you saying that you often get the leaves a little wet while you're doing that, or at least the trunk.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Trunk and ground surface, or around the around the drip edge.
Yep.
Around the few feet out, depending on the the size of what I'm doing. Like roses, it's right around like the stalk, and that's about it. And
Hmm.
then around the edge a little bit more. And so for for shrubs, I do 2 gallons per foot of height. So if I've got a 5 foot tall shrub, it gets 10 gallons of material.
Yep.
And then your label is really easy. You just do 10 gallons divided by two, and then you add in, you multiply that by your whatever rate you're using, 9 to 15 ounces,
Yep.
and you're golden. And that
And you're
plant gets
golden.
all that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and then for trees, a little bit different. The with the injections, I usually do either a 2.5, 5, or 10 gallon per inch of DBH,
Hmm.
and I just use a fancy. I thought I had it right here. Huh. Thought I had a diameter tape to show you. But I just measure the tree around about 4.5 feet off the ground. That tells me how many inches it is across. Then I use the 2.5, 5, or 10 gallons of total water.
Though
And then
that's a lot of volume. That's pretty high volume.
yeah, they're big trees. I mean, most trees, you get a mature oak, they're gonna need 2, 3, 400 gallons of water a day.
Hmm.
So I mean, really, a 300 gallon feeding is nothing compared to what they normally get.
Compared to what they're sucking up out of the ground.
Yeah, and during certain like drought times, and that's what I like about C3 too is usually like our summers have been getting a little bit dry here in Virginia.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, we've been used to getting rain all the time, so lately we've been getting less rain.
Uh-huh.
So I do injection in June, and I notice some of the trees do a lot better than the others.
Mhm.
Speaking of hydration,
I'm always dipping into yep, staying hydrated. That's
here I
one.
am drinking coffee.
Uh, um, okay, so yeah, so you notice that the C3 helps the tree through the drought periods of the year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's what they see in turf. That's like almost the first thing they see in turf as well.
And winter damage too, like I'm not a huge fan of Leland cypresses, but I've got a customer that planted it was like 210 of these things, and they kept getting windburn every year, kept turning orange, and so anyway, we went through and I I fed them all right before it's probably right before Thanksgiving,
Okay.
and just doing soil injection,
Mhm.
right around each of them. They weren't very big; they're probably about 20 feet tall, if that,
Mhm.
and went right up and down one side and came down the other, and we've done that now for 3 years, and they have not had any
Loss.
form of winter burn. I mean, granted, winter 2019 was very mild,
Right.
but 2020 was we had some pretty cold weather.
Yeah, we had some polar vortex that winter.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, man. Okay, so that's interesting. So typically, does a program 3 apps a year? Does it sound? It sounds like to me.
yeah. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, a lot. I give people. So in my name of my company is called Custom. I give people options.
That's
So I
right.
always tell them, three is best, two is better, one is just as good as none.
Uh huh.
And I get a lot of people to do just the one and done ones, and I get a few that do the threes, and it works for me. It works for my customers. Works for their trees.
Uh,
So
Now let's see. I guess in the time that you've started your company, you probably had a bit of a boon with at the demise of the poor ash trees, this
Oh.
emerald ash borer that's come through in the last like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, for us, it started. We started noticing it in and around Charlottesville around 2015.
Okay.
Um, and I'm sure it's been there longer than that, but um, I like to use it. So the best way to get rid of emerald ash, or at least not, you can't get rid of it, but to keep it from damaging the ash trees, is trunk injection.
Okay.
And so,
And that's the insecticide. What
yeah,
is it that they use that you use rather?
emamectin benzoate. I use the Arbor Jet.
Uh-huh.
Uh, there's a couple other ones out there, but I've had bad luck with one company, and so I switched to Arbor Jet in 18, and have had fantastic results. And this emamectin benzoate lasts for 2 years, kills the emerald ash borer. You know, because the larva is EAB is crazy. Because like most insects, they lay their eggs. The eggs overwinter. They hatch in the spring. Emerald ash borer, those eggs hatch within a week after they get laid, and they go right into feeding, and they feed all winter long. And that's why they kill ash trees so much quicker than most borers and other trees,
Okay.
because they don't have. There's no incubation period. They just 7 to 10 days, and they've hatched, and they're feeding, and they feed all winter. Again, a lot of insects don't feed in the winter. And these
Right.
guys, they just keep chewing. And so anyway, so with my program, I offer C3, and
Mhm.
I've been actually started adding a little bit of kick to it as well. The
Excellent.
C3 with kick,
Yep.
and we do that usually in February, and then we follow up with a trunk injection in about April
So
to May.
Your C3, you do the root zone injection and the kick in the root zone injection
Before.
before. Okay. Now trunk injection that goes right into the cambia of the tree, the
The
xylem.
xylem.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
the xylem.
The xylem, and so it goes right up to the leaves.
Yeah, so it goes up, and then it comes down, and then it kind of just goes all around,
Okay.
and it does it continuously
Yeah.
throughout, until it's basically used up. Uh,
The application's pressurized and it goes right on in
yeah,
there, right?
yep, for 20 pounds of pressure takes a little while. Sometimes, like some of these ash trees I'm doing, they're 62 and 70-inch diameters. Some of these historical trees, and so they take a while. They take about an hour. Some take a little bit less. There's a
And
lot that take
the
less.
plant has to be uptaking water at the time through its xylem, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
yeah, exactly. And I've noticed that doing the C3 before,
Mm,
I have cut my application times by almost half. Some trees they might take 20 minutes, and like some of these trees. And I was telling Ty about it. We did this one big job this past summer for this guy in Pennsylvania, in Stroudsburg. He had 42 or 44 trees we had to inject, and it took us 13 hours between 2 days, not counting travel to and from. And I told him, I was like, if you seed three these trees, one, they benefit from the C3, but two, uptake time will be like that.
yeah,
And
so just in labor, it like the C3 pays for itself.
yeah, sorry about that. I gotta let my dog in. He's snuck out without me knowing.
It's all good. We're pet friendly here at the Earthworks podcast.
Yeah, he's probably
Um,
wondering why I'm in the chair without him.
you're in my spot, Bobby.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so interesting. I guess you had mentioned, yes, so you had mentioned the C3 is part of, it's become part of your ash borer program for a couple of these reasons. A, the plant's doing so much better. B, the plant is growing so much more vigorous that it takes its insecticide so much quicker.
Yeah, and it helps. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work. I mean, sometimes it doesn't. You might not notice it working, and I'm sure it could be a placebo, but I know there's a tree in Charlottesville that always took an hour to do, easy.
Mhm.
And then I started doing the C3, uh, and it just now it's gone. Yeah, it's in and it's out of there. Because at the same time, not on the ash trees, but the same property, they've got sycamores, and they have sycamore anthracnose, and that's another, proproconazole injection. And some of these sycamores are about the same size, and we're putting in, 300 and 400 milliliters of product, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is, especially when you're going in a small hole. And it just, again, takes a while for the tree to absorb it. And started doing the C3, and it just sucks it right up like a vacuum. It's really nice.
Wow. Excellent. Yeah. All right, cool. So tell us quick about the old pear tree from a couple years ago. I know you say you don't go back to that property anymore, but I remember the pictures and it was
Yeah, so there was a small orchard, family orchard. The father died, and the kids didn't want it, so they sold it to this lady who was from Delaware. And there's about 60, 65 trees. There's apples, there's peaches, there's pears, like actual pears, not Bradford pears, but like actual pears. She had this one peach tree, the only peach tree that's still alive, and it snapped off in a storm. I think it was in 2011, I think.
okay.
And she was in Martinsville, and I said, well, I'd come down and take a look at it. It's not that far from me. It's about an hour and a half drive, 2 hour drive. It's worth it,
Yeah.
especially for the PR. And she designed my logo.
Oh,
So
okay, cool.
that's how we met. Anyway, so I go down there and I'm looking at it. She didn't want to take the limb off, and it was, a good sized limb. I mean,
Right.
at least.
So you're saying about like 3 to 4 inch diameter.
Yeah. So I took some C3, and so it had to be in 2012 actually, because that's when I got the product. It was in 2012. Anyway,
Right.
so I got the C3. I put it in a bowl, and then I added a little bit of flour to make it thick. I made it into a paste and took a paintbrush and painted it on. Then I brought the limb back together, taped it with floral tape. That didn't hold, so I put some more C3 on, painted it on, and then I took a stainless steel bolt and bolted it together, and then put it back into position. And then I think it was maybe 8 months later, I went back out there. She sent me a picture of it. That's what, the picture I showed you. And I went back out there like the next year, and I could not believe that it had formed, so trees compartmentalize and they form new tissue. They don't actually heal. So they
Right.
just heal wounds. And within a year, that whole thing, and not even a year, it was 8 months, the tree had sealed all the way around where it had fractured.
Right.
And then the next year, so 2 years, it had started sealing around the bolt already that I had put in. And then in 14, which was the last time I was out there, the bolt was gone. You couldn't even see the bolt anymore. So within 3 years, it had completely sealed over.
Do you think that limb had set fruit again?
Oh, I know it has. Yeah. Oh, I've seen it. She sent me pictures over the time. I mean, she's moved away since then, so I don't know what the status of the tree is now. Somebody could have got it and decided to take it out, which I feel sorry for whoever's going to chip that piece of wood, because it'll destroy their chipper. But but it was a cool little orchard. I mean, it had gnarly looking trees, old rickety steel iron gate fence. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah.
something out of like that movie. Who's that guy that Sleepy Hollow
Yeah.
with Johnny Depp? Yeah, that's kind of what it reminded me of.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was such a cool
Spooky.
feeling to be out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was surprised that, I mean, I gave it a shot, and
I mean, oh, now hold on. You straight product.
great product, no water, just a little bit of
Straight
flour to make it thick, to make it into a
Wow.
paste. Yeah.
I'm so happy that you had the ingenuity to try that, man. And
I mean, at this point, it was like a Hail Mary throw. Like, you got nothing. I mean, it's either going to work or it's not.
mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
she was kind of cool about letting us try it,
Oh, you know what picture I use of yours all the time? A before and after. In
the
fact,
holly.
yeah, the holly, dude.
Yeah.
That was great.
And they were going to remove that.
Uh-huh.
They were like, "Oh, this looks like crap." And I was like, "Well, we can take it out, but we
It
can
did
treat
look
it."
like crap.
Oh yeah, it did.
You did such a great job taking those photos because you got from the exact same angle. Like the two pictures of the holly before and after. You were standing in the same spot, taking
Yeah.
the same angle. So the before after photo looks awesome.
I didn't move for 30 days. I stayed right there. No, actually I took the pictures and then I tried to mark it as best I could in the mulch and the lawn and then when I came back and I was just driving by and I'm like, holy cow. So I just went up, took a picture and left.
Yeah, I figured they were. I think I marked it as those being about like 2 or 3 months apart. 2 months apart. Those pictures, or was it less?
It was less. I think it was well you could see the I think they're daffodils. They're blooming in the photo.
Right.
I want to say it was like April and May. It was like 30
That's
days if
I
that.
wrote April. I wrote April and June when I wrote it up. But yeah, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so close. I mean, it didn't take long.
Yeah, if you look at it again, you'll see there's like daffodils. There's no daffodils in the before, and then
Right.
the daffodils are blooming. So I mean, and they
Okay,
usually
so it couldn't
bloom.
be
In,
June. Yeah, it couldn't be June.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, and then there's the I want to say it was like 22 days apart.
Okay, wow, man, it's amazing. Yeah, and that fully leafed out. I mean, for everyone that's listening, this is a holly tree that in March or rather April, it should have had leaves. It doesn't lose its leaves, right? It's supposed to keep
Well,
leaves.
so hollies do most evergreens. They take a lot of the nutrients in the older growth, and then they put it for the new growth to come. So
Okay,
like a lot of trees, evergreens, they hold on to 3 to 5 years worth of growth, whether it be hollies, spruces, firs. So when that time comes, they drop the old growth. They take the nutrients and they suck it in and they push it forward. But there should still be growth on the tree. And this
right.
guy had nothing. And it did have scale. And I did do a soil injection with dinotefrin. It's a
Yeah.
safari is the name of the product. And so that was mixed in with the C3. And so we got the growth without the insect activity. The insects are taken care of.
Hmm.
And, it's still up. It's still there. I mean, drive by it probably twice, 3 times a year, and they both. There's two of them actually on the property, and they're on the corner, and they both look like crap. Most
Yeah.
of it was scale damage.
In fact, when Lisa saw the photos, she was like, "Wait," she didn't think anything about it twice, and then because I had said they're from Virginia, because you sent them to me, I figured that they were from down by you, but it was from right. I think it's like her neighbor or someone in town. It was in
Yeah,
one.
it's in Rosetto.
Yeah, it's in
Uh,
Rosetto. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So she was like, "Oh wait, I know that house." Oh man, that's funny. Um, yeah, this is very cool. So tell us about you've mentioned the tree, the xylem injection. Tell us about the Norway maple that you've started trialing some xylem injection with straight C3.
Well, it's not just straight. I dilute it down.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yes, you diluted.
so basically, there was a function going on at this estate, and
Mhm.
the tree had gotten I cannot pronounce the technical name, but it's basically frog eye fungus.
Frog eye fungus.
It doesn't kill the tree. It does make it look unsightly, and but they wanted the tree looking fantastic.
Where do the
I'm like, what
frog
was?
eyes show up? On the leaves, you see?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It just looks like a big blotch,
right.
brown. It's all over. And there was some spot anthracnose, which is minor. I mean, basically what it does is the tree loses its leaves a little bit early. So instead of and it does affect the fall color too.
Mhm.
And this was in September.
That's when you
Um,
texted me about it, yeah.
yeah, it was in September. It was after. I think it was right before actually before Labor Day or right after Labor Day. They were having a party, and it's a big tree. I mean, it's every bit of 100 feet tall, probably 40, 50 feet wide. And we've pruned it several years ago. We put lightning protection in it, put cabling in it,
Mhm.
and they were just like, "Oh, the tree looks like crap. We have a party coming up. What can you do?" And I was like, I can throw a Hail Mary at it, but I don't know if it's good. And so I call my local vendor to get this product. It's the same concept. It's like a fertilizer you inject in the tree to give it a quick green up. They
Okay.
didn't have any in stock, and they called around, don't have it in stock. Don't have it's everybody's not that is an excuse, but everybody says because of COVID they couldn't stock their shelves. So I'm like, well, I don't have anything. It's a really good customer. I don't want to lose them. So I said, well, I got C3. Let me give it a shot as a trunk injection. It's not labeled for it, but you did tell
Mhm.
me I could play with it.
That's right.
So I measured the tree and I did 5 milliliters per inch, and
Mhm.
it was a 40 some. I think it was 42-inch tree.
Mm-hmm.
and mixed it with the same amount of water, so 1 to 1. So 5 mils of
Yeah.
C3, 5 mils of water.
So about 200. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Totally.
Mixed it all together, and I kept it mixed, and then I drilled my holes and put the needles in, pressurized 35 pounds, and off it went. In the first probably 5 or 10 minutes, it was going pretty well. It slowed down. I had to stop. I had to add more water to thin it a little bit better because C3 is pretty thick.
Yep.
And then it took the rest of the material. And that was on I think it was a Thursday or Friday. And I got a call on Monday, and they're like, the tree looks like crap. Like the leaves are turning brown, they're turning yellow. I was like, just give it a few more days. It's normal.
Okay.
I said, at this time, I was kind of nervous because I'd never done this before. So I was like, it's fine. We're good. Let's see what happens. And then didn't hear anything from them. I drive by there. The tree's beautiful, nice and green. It still has the frog eye fungus, obviously, but it did drop a lot of the leaves, and it
Okay.
flushed out with new growth. But there was still,
Flushed out with new growth in September.
right. But not the whole tree though. Just
Right.
probably, I would say maybe 15%, 10% of new growth.
Okay.
But the older leaves kind of greened up a little bit, and then the new leaves were so green that they kind of like overshadowed the old growth.
Mm-hmm.
And they were blown away. They were like, "Holy cow, this is so cool!" And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And I kind of just played it off like I knew what I was doing. And
I knew that was gonna happen. Come on.
yeah, and it worked out. And since then I've done some poplar trees, I've done some ash trees, I've done a beech, I've done a dogwood, and a couple of red buds. And so far I've had no negative effects, no signs of any extra stresses. I mean, you are drilling a hole into the tree, but that's it's like and it is a short-term thing. I mean, I'm not doing this as this is going to correct the problem, and it's not. It is a band-aid on a bullet hole. You got to start with the soil, and that's where it should be used.
Explain to me a couple of the things that you mentioned about this frog eye fungus and how it sets on the leaf in this critical time where the leaf is really unprotected, but how that C3 is then helping strengthen the leaf quicker. I'm not sure.
Well, you're talking about like so in October, I think it was, or November, I came back after the party, did a soil injection, and all the way out to the drip line on the same maple,
right,
in preparation for next year. Told them that we need to spray the tree or inject it with a fungicide, and I chose to spray it because I just injected it.
Right.
So we treated it as best we could, for the frog eye fungus. And when trees leaf out, the growth is very tender. It's very soft. It hasn't formed its cuticle yet, which protects the leaf.
And we all can see that. All of us growers know, even if we're not tree guys, you see that neon green leaf that just opens up, and it looks off. It's like, oh wow, that's not the normal color I know of a tree leaf to look. It's not the green I'm expecting to see. And you only see it for about a week, I'd say, right, or less.
Yeah, and I would say that last year, or this year, actually, it was this year, I went out there. Actually, I was there yesterday when you called me, and the tree was already in full leaf expansion. Cuticles already formed, and we had done the one spray already, and it's every 7 days is how I do for the frog eye, and the tree's already formed its cuticle, so it's like, all right, I don't have to spray anymore. That was quick. And I mean, we're going to see. Hopefully, you won't notice it until we get some spring weather, like the rain. So hopefully, it's going to work. I don't know yet. But the tree looks fantastic. I mean, it looks gorgeous, nice dark. And the guy that was with me yesterday is like, "Man, that's a nice dark looking leaf." I was like, because there's like other maples around, and they're just still coming out. They're still yellow. And I should have taken a picture because there's about 26 of them, right, in a tight group, and there's only one that is completely leafed out, dark green leaves already, full leaf expansion. And it's April 22nd.
Yeah.
And all the other trees are still barely coming out.
The Earth Day celebration over there with
the
Norway maples, man. That's great. now describe to me the difference the excuse me. Describe to me the difference between this tree injection into the tissue, into the xylem, and how it is more short-lived than what you see when you do the root zone injections into the soil.
Well, the trunk injection into the xylem, like I said, it's a band-aid on a bullet hole. It's for a quick fix if something's happening, family event or something or whatever, you
Right.
know. Uh, and the volume is so low. I mean, you're putting in 300 mils or less or more versus
And
putting
like you
in.
said, 5 mils per inch.
That's what I went
Right.
with. Now, I basically took the same label that Arbor Jet has, and I just applied it with your product. So they recommend 5 mils in the summer. In the fall, they recommend 10. So
Hmm.
I went with the same thing and said maybe this will work, maybe it won't.
But
And
but but the response does not have the same longevity that you see when you do the soil drench. And
soil, correct.
like you're saying, the volume, that being said, the volume's only a fraction of what you use volume wise in a root zone drench.
Right. In that same tree we did in October for the soil injection, instead of the trunk injection, we used 340 gallons of water, which was
Uh-huh.
12. So 18 pints of C3 was
Yeah.
used
Yeah, yeah,
versus,
yeah.
150, 200 milliliters.
Uh-huh.
So, that's where you're, again, banding on a bullet hole versus long-term effect. You do the injection in the fall and it's there all winter. We're doing what it's supposed to do. Trees leaf out in the spring and it's there. And then they just go. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to describe it other than that.
How about the flowering trees? Something I've heard from customers in the past is that they see more flowers, just plain, more flowers using these products on
You've
the
seen the
tree.
pictures.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, you're right.
There's
I,
azaleas. There was more
uh,
you couldn't even see the leaves on the azaleas. There were so many flowers. And same with the rhododendrons on that one
oh, I
plant.
remember the roadie. Yes.
Yeah, that was supposed to be another removal, and I was like, well, let me give it a shot. Let me see what happens because it had borers. I took out the other ones that were really bad,
Uh-huh.
and then she's like, well, you left a couple. I was like, I did that on purpose. I want to try something. She's like,
Yeah.
okay.
So you thinned out the area, kind of opened up more sunlight, all that, and got rid of the ones that were lousy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even add any more sunlight. I mean, I just took out the ones that were half dead or dying
Yeah.
and pruned the dead branches, and then we did a soil drench of
Uh-huh.
C3, highest rate allowed, and then I treated for the borers with the topical applications of permethrin, and then I mean they're still there. The ones we didn't take out are still there, and I
Wow.
was there on Tuesday, and
Wow.
they're still there, still looking good. They're 18
And
feet tall.
and they're probably flowering right now, or are they past flower?
I I think they might be flowering now, if not soon.
Yeah.
Because they weren't flower. The bud. Yeah, they weren't flowering because the buds are still tight.
Uh-huh.
Um,
This is like the most exciting time of the year. I love flowering trees. It's like I run every day and I'm running around. I feel like I'm in like Dr. Seuss land. Like every tree looks like just like it's from a cartoon.
yeah,
It blows me away.
Robin Williams said it best, man. That's springtime is nature's way of saying let's party.
It's dead,
So
dead on right.
everything happens in spring, man.
It sure does. So let's see. This is a question I meant to ask earlier in the conversation, but it's something I am dying to know. Being
Okay,
a tree expert, what's your favorite tree?
Norway spruce.
Ah, okay. The Norway spruce. Oh, not the Norway maple that we've been talking about, a Norway spruce. Okay, I know Norway spruce, giant spruce tree.
Yeah, I have to show you this. So the reason why I picked it is my logo is a Norway spruce, and
Okay.
it's kind of hard to tell because there's a broken branch on.
Oh, I
Let's
see
see.
it over the edge.
Yeah. So this is my grandparents' house. I grew up in as a kid. I don't know if I can flip this. I've never done Zoom before, so
It's all good.
this is the house I grew up. My grandparents had when I was a kid,
Yes.
And there's the Norway spruce right there. That was the first tree I ever climbed as a kid.
Okay, for the listener, behind this house is a beautiful aerial photo of the home, and behind the house, behind the shed, there is a giant Norway spruce out in the open.
Yeah. And my grandmother, I could hear her, she was freaking out. She's like, "What are you doing?" And so I was coming down, and as I was coming down, I broke one of the low branches. And my grandfather, because this is the kind of guy he is, he's like, "Well, did you learn your lesson?" I was like, "Yeah." And that branch broke, and it never grew back. And the artist that did my logo, she incorporated that from.
Oh, that is cool.
She wanted just pictures and videos and conversations, and so she listened to me, and so she put that broken branch in the logo because it's in the tree. And anyway, yeah. So Norway spruce. Plus, they have really cool cones in the spring. They're like a bright pink, which is very unusual, and I like that.
We had Norway spruces at the golf course that I worked at Lehigh Country Club. I remember like a grove of 3 Norway spruces behind the 8th green. They're big trees.
Oh yeah, and they're bulletproof. I mean, those guys can, like a lot of your like Douglas firs, they get needle cast really bad, and that's another wonder story too. When you have time, I'll have to take you over to Nazareth and show you this grove. This guy planted like 50 trees, Doug firs, regular blue spruces, and they've got the Rhizophyra needle cast. They've got Swiss needle cast, and I think it was Ty actually went out in 18 and fertilized them in the spring. I did them in 19 and again in 20 with seed 3 and doing the fungicide applications. Tons of new growth. They've got their screen back because they planted them to screen off their neighbors.
Yeah,
that's back already, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we can stop doing it." It's like, well, you could, but then we'll be right back in a few years. You're going to lose your screen. It's like, if it's working, keep letting it, keep doing it. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
But when you have time, I'd love to show you. I think Ty might have a before picture of like this like aerial shot of like before and after. If not, I know I've got it in my phone. I just have to go through the 7,000 pictures and try to find it for you. But actually, it might even be on my Facebook page.
I bet that customers like the pictures that I imagine you show your customers, like, "Hey, look what we did here."
Yeah, I mean, I always tell them, Ty's customers and my customers, it's a very unique situation Ty and I have, and I don't think anybody would ever have this type of deal that him and I do. It's just helping him and helping me, whatever. But anyway, so I always tell people your trees are in the best hands possible. We're not a fly by night guy. I'm not a fly by night company. We're here for the trees, and we get paid in the process, which is cool because there is a difference between, and I've said it before, like there's guys that do tree work and get paid, or they get paid to do tree work rather. And I'm here to care for the trees and I get paid in the process.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. And
you're passionate about this, man.
Yeah, very passionate. But
and it does make it fun.
So yeah, Norway spruce, favorite tree.
Well, it's Friday evening, and it's time for us to both cut loose, right?
Sure.
I can't thank you enough for getting on here.
Absolutely.
This was a really fun conversation and super informative. Seriously.
I hope so.
But yeah, BoboPedia, is that you?
Yeah.
Good, man. Well, thank you, Bobby. Thanks for coming on the Earthworks podcast. Thanks for spending this time in conversation with me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. The door's always open. Phone's always on.
All right, man. We'll see you.
Bye.